Yeah, you know what time it is. Q&A time. Because, of course, there are things I did and things I didn't. Early on, I decided to try stereo audio instead of mono audio. And my findings concluded it sucked. So, no more stereo audio. Sorry guys. Also, throughout this entire playthrough, my capture card would mess up in a variety of ways, just like the last one, which defies the point of having bought a new one. Or, in this case being bought one. It has video issues and a desync that is only avoidable by playing the sound directly through Windows Sound settings. So every now and then, I would pause the game to undo the desync, or at least reset it. The previous capture card doesn't do that. Instead, it has a separate issue, specifically some buzzing sound issue. So, to my current knowledge, it apparently doesn't matter what composite capture card I get. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. It doesn't even matter what the scouter says about its video capture quality. Nothing I do is going to solve this problem. Nothing I buy will solve this problem. I am tempted to believe going full HD might solve this problem, but since at the current time of recording, one of the final endpoints is a composite capture, specifically the capture card that's giving me problems, again, and I haven't otherwise tested this with full-on HD, I'm not about to hold my breath. Why did I reset as soon as the ship landed? Well, maybe almost at the beginning, I erased the save file before starting. As speedrunners have found out, if you let the beginning cutscene play and let the ship land, then when you restart, your save file will automatically be completely empty except for starting at the beginning of the game, the main deck. And so this is how all speedrunners play the game. They let the cutscene play until they get to the beginning of the game, and then copy that save file, practically empty, across all 3 save slots. As the computer proceeds to explain, when Samus eradicated all Metroids from Planet 388, or Planet Zebes for anyone scratching their heads on that one, she unwittingly unleashed a parasite that threatens all life across the entire universe, now named the X-Parasite. It doesn't matter if I refer to it as singular or plural, all it would take is one. Why? Because as the computer would later explain, and I mean much later, one X-Parasite is all you need to cause problems, because this parasite reproduces asexually. What do I mean by that? Well, sexual reproduction, for all you kids who hadn't graduated from elementary school, is when you have a mommy and a daddy who love each other very much. Things happen that I can't talk about on either platform that I'm publishing this on, and you get more of the same kind of creature. Asexual reproduction works completely differently. What I mean is, when there's enough of something in the one something, in this case, the X-Parasite, it splits itself apart and becomes 2 parasites. Fully functional, completely unaffected, capable of moving on with its life. And for all of you biology flunkies out there, feel free to web search mitosis. M-I-T-O-S-I-S. Mitosis. And so, as many of you might have immediately come to realize, those 2 parasites could do the same thing now. So, what was 1 parasite became 2, and then what will be those 1 parasites would also become 2, and then what will be those 1 parasites would also become 2, and then what will be those 1 parasites would also become 2. And so the process would repeat exponentially. So, concerning this topic, what makes these X-Parasites so bad? The answer? They do it really, really fast. We're talking faster than rabbits in any form of fiction you've ever seen in your life. Remember that episode of My Life as a Teenage Robot where Jennifer's mother told not to have a party because on the exact spot she marked, a dangerous alien would land there, and the only way to get rid of it would be to use a vacuum on it? Remember how as soon as the alien landed, it multiplied horrifyingly fast, like the cups in that one Harry Potter movie? Same thing. So when you eradicate this parasite, you better eradicate everything, because all it takes is 1 parasite to ruin it for everyone. This is the source of the electrical interference. Some items hide themselves in really sly ways. This one is no exception. I almost missed this energy tank, because once I go down, I can't go back up. Also, as you will find out later, I remember where this energy tank was, but even with the maps, I overlooked enough items that I got less than 100% at the end. Yep, less than 100%. Don't worry though, because I do show you where all the items are. This group of blocks is a red herring. You need specific items to come back here later, but only for the sole purpose of navigation. There are no items hidden here, so it serves no other purpose. When I played this game for the very first time years ago, this exact scene fueled my nightmares for months. I was not prepared for this. I did not think Nintendo had it in them to put scary in a flagship Nintendo game. I was horribly mistaken. And this was before 2009 hit. I say that because, just as I was getting over this unintentional nightmare fuel, a specific game released in 2009, and the whole process started all over again. Believe it or not, you're only going to see the sector twice in the entire playthrough, plus a little more because I was checking for missing items. The first time you see it, movement training, as you're about to find out. The second time, I'm not going to spoil it just yet. Hey, it's Morph Ball! Wait, I already have that. So I needed a minute to do this, but for all but one Hardcore X, since they track you on a straight line, you can trick them into getting stuck on a corner this way. And so instead of having to run around the entire room to delete them, you can stick them in one spot, wait for their eye to open, and basically semi-sunlock them. Oh, right, I need to talk about this right now. Concerning regular Core X's, since I'm not a speedrunner, I can't do this, but there is a trick called Double Missile where, if you time it just right, you can land 2 missiles on a Core X at the exact same time. It's frame perfect. And so they take double the amount of damage this way and save you time. Again, not a speedrunner, so I'll never be able to do it. Nope, no matter how much I try. This virus doesn't absorb itself. Instead, it absorbs free-floating X parasites. And this is how big it can get. As you might have guessed, from looking at this map, there is no way in hell it could be that easy, or that short. Oh, and one more thing. Sector 2 is the second most dangerous sector, next to Sector 4, but it's not for the reason you first see. So while I will take damage here, thereby forcing me to conserve, later on, you will most definitely see worse. What will aggravate you later, don't worry, I'll get to SX later, is that after runes steal themselves, the maps, in some cases, do not update to reflect this. So you can forget and try to go somewhere one way, only to be brutally reminded the path is blocked, and find yourself hiking it to go the long way instead. Unavoidably. Yeah, I almost died here, and you have no idea how terrifying that was. See what I mean by this place being slick as hell? There were some rooms I didn't even bother to check because, very clearly, for one reason or another, I was unable to. If I very clearly had nothing to gain from it, my best bet would be to simply turn back until later. If you didn't know, or didn't guess correctly, which many people didn't, you would walk into this pick-a-path, and you'd find the energy tank here, but not realize you had to bomb your way down, and so then you go back and walk to the pick-a-path anyway. Man, this is frustrating. You may have noticed by now, these bosses tend to have a theme. Specifically, they have an ability you want, and they will use it. Also, I messed up a couple of times here, meaning I didn't complete the cycle, but that only means I have to explain. I was trying to avoid being landed on by this creature. If it does land on you, you have to bomb your way out. It wants us to kill a creature. Okay, it wants us to kill a creature in a room this small next to a much larger room. Yeah, you already see where this is going. This scene should absolutely terrify you. Right next to the SA-X, this scene should absolutely terrify you down to the core. It should send shivers down your spines. Why? Let's look back a little, shall we? As soon as we enter this sector, the computer told us about a creature named Ceres. It told us that this creature was capable of moving at ultra high speed. Finally, it told us to kill it and that we could start by checking its breeding tank. Well, here we are. But all I could see is a skeleton lying completely flat on the ground, which to many people would be completely innocuous, especially since we were told before walking in here that the place was flooded with several thousand X-parasites as soon as we opened the door. But remember what I said about these X-parasites? Again, as the computer would later explain, they reproduce asexually. That means, unlike mammals and reptiles, these creatures only need themselves to make more of themselves, and these parasites do it really fast. So in theory, all we really needed was one. But what does that have to do with a skeleton lying completely flat on the ground? Again, we were told this creature could move at ultra high speed, which leads us to believe that one of two things happened. Either as soon as the X-parasites came in, it knew what was going to happen and closed its eyes. It did the equivalent of bending over and pulling its pants down. Or, much more realistically, as soon as the X-parasites came in, it closed its eyes because the X-parasites basically said, tag you're it. Faster than it could react at ultra high speed. These bones are completely flat on the ground. They aren't curved. They aren't even jumbled. Nope, they're completely flat on the ground. That tells us how efficiently these parasites kill. That tells us how deadly these parasites are. Ceres has a pattern. It is usually the same every time. You don't need missiles here. You just need a charge shot directly inside of its head, not outside. That way, you damage it more and delete it faster. However, it is otherwise really hard to guess where it's going to go, especially at ultra high speed. And so, I did the only realistic thing I could think of. I stayed in one spot and waited for it to stop moving at ultra high speed to damage it again and again. How lucky of me to time this correctly. Lucky, not skilled, I'm not a speedrunner. If you were quick enough, you can carry your charge in the water and ignore the water for a moment in order to get these missiles even faster. Say hello to Bob the Missile Pack. Why do the speedrunners name this Missile Pack Bob? Simple, because it's unavoidable, unless you know what you're doing. The original low percent was 1%, meaning this missile pack in particular. However, the speedrunners, being who they are, found a way to dodge it. And so, they would basically end the game with 0%. Not abilities, item collection rate. That means, if you pick this missile up, it's 1%, end of story. Meanwhile, if you leave this room and come back without picking up the missile pack, you will find it is gone. Why? Because Nintendo, not anticipating anyone dodging this, they programmed it to disappear anyway. That means, whether or not you pick it up the first time you enter this room and go through a specific door the first time, it will not be here when you come back. That means Bob the Missile doesn't care whether it's picked up or not, because the minute you go through a specific door and then come back in here later, it is gone. End of story. When it comes to BOX, you need the high ground, or rather, high climb. Stay above its bombs and wait for them to detonate before continuing to fire missiles. Firing diagonally is your safest bet. I didn't do that the entire time here, but you get the idea. I didn't realize this until too late, But it was the capture card that was to blame, not the Wii U system. Don't worry, I fix this later on, and so I know how to fix it in case it ever happens again. You were expected, or rather told, to download Various Suit from a data room. But again, do I really have to explain myself here? This room is a game check. Did you get the Various Suit? Then surely you'd survive eating all these Blue X. What I mean to say is, once you enter this room, they will purposely fly into you, especially when you start trying to climb the ladder. It doesn't matter what exit you try to take. If you survive, they will not do this anymore. That, people, is what you call a game check. Running around out here, I overlooked an item. I was so focused on making my way to the door to open it that I failed to look around the entire place for said item. Don't worry, you'll see where it is later. This is a mimic. There are exactly 2 of these in the game, but the map still tells the item is still here means it can't be far. I'll be honest, the first time I played this game, this scene terrified me. I bombed the wall and saw a powerbomb icon, and then the SX would stop and turn to listen, and then proceed to continue patrolling the area. I needed much later to learn that there was a simpler way out. Speedrunners definitely use a powerbomb here. I'm not a speedrunner. I do things a little differently. Wait? Choking the reactor core? Guess where that means we have to go. The best practice for Yakuza the Spider, not the Japanese gang, is to let it grab you on purpose, but then to shake loose before it slams you to the ground for major damage. Why? Because on some occasions, this might convince it to open its mouth, which is the only way you're going to damage it, with missiles. When it loses its legs, and I know I'm calling it a spider even though it has 6, it will keep its mouth open the entire time, so all you have to do is try to juggle it. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Okay, second time around, and I'm gonna explain myself as best I can. The first room, I could use a mini bomb instead of a power bomb, but then in would come the ice beams. That's why I decided to plant a power bomb and just freeze it until the path opens. Then comes the gate room. See, you weren't supposed to do this while being chased, but there's a specific portion, a pathway, that can only be opened by missiles, not bombs. So as soon as I did that, I went down, but the SAX simply wouldn't follow me. Again, Nintendo did not see this coming. So, what was supposed to happen? Well, remember that open door? You could go inside, jump behind the wall, piss your pants as the SX walks in, then either let it walk out because it's too easy, or if you're still in panic mode, open the path above you, run out the door, dry stitch at your soul food, and open the path I opened before going inside the room. Hopefully without dying anyway. I had a tough time doing it correctly here, but if you kneel on the right hand corner of the higher platform, right on the edge, you can offload missiles while dodging the spores. If you fall into either of the pits here, hold a jump to get out. Do not repeatedly attempt to jump. Hold a single jump. I needed a few times to do it here, but you can fly your way through part of the sector. As you might guess, this is bait. That's to say, there are more paths than they show you here. Don't try to shoot missiles while it's distorting gravity. They'll just fall. Say hello to the actual most dangerous part of the station. Why? Because of these creatures. If you don't shoot their projectiles, they hit hard. Alone, maybe 2 of them, this doesn't sound so scary. But a room full of them, combined with the fact that their projectiles ignore walls, is a fast track to Davy Jones' locker. I didn't realize this until later, but the room on the right did not lead to one way as I feared. Don't worry, you'll see what's behind it later. This room only has one purpose. I was waiting to say this, but after getting Screw Attack, all navigation rooms are a one-way into the end of the world. This room's only purpose is to help you avoid that while searching for items. No matter how hard I try, no matter where I look, no matter what I do, I cannot dodge this navigation room on the way to the elevator. That is the actual purpose. They put this obstacle here. There is no way around it. I'm not a speedrunner, so this failed miserably, but if you are quick enough, you can freeze it, then shoot a fully charged wave beam at it, then freeze it again right behind that, and rinse and repeat for a stun lock. When you get the clear save icon, after triggering the end of the world again, it won't be a one-way this time. That is, you'll be allowed to enter sectors through the front doors this time. That is why, earlier on, I was using tunnels to go between sectors. Both times, I was using maps. I screenshot maps from a completed save file, and had the first time believe I'd gotten everything when I hadn't. So in some cases, I needed a really good hard look at those maps to tell me where those items were. Thankfully, they tell you which sections of the station have missing items. So what if I was trying to do this the first time around, where I couldn't enter through the front doors? Well, that's where Reactor Silo comes in. Remember, that room is connected to Sector 2, and believe it or not, so is Sector 1. So it'll be a hike, but I could use the elevators to quick look which sectors have missing items, and then huff it over to those sectors using the tunnels. The only real obstacle at that point would be misleading maps. This room in Sector 2, view this directly on the screen. If you're using Wii U Gamepad, use the gamepad to do this room. Otherwise, the delay is going to ruin what you're trying to do. I can't believe I missed an item in Meridia. The aquarium. I usually never do that, and I was trying to make sure I didn't so that I wouldn't have to go back down there. This item here, accessible only after the obstacle's gone, isn't the one way it looks like. I did it here. You can space jump your way into this item. The one way is flying through the speed blocks from just above with no way of going directly back. And so in order to make it back to Sector 6, you'd have to run all the way around through 3 tunnels first.